This video is made possible by my patrons on Patreon. Hello everyone, my name is Ziamaro and welcome to Battlerite Sage. We've had a lot of new players joining us since the start of Season 1, and I've been seeing a lot of people asking for help on Reddit. So today I'm going to be going through some of my top tips for new players. Let's start out with my absolute favourite, focus on the macro. Okay, for those of you who are familiar with what macro means, Battlerite doesn't exactly have micromanagement like you might have in a real-time strategy or even a traditional MOBA. For those of you who don't know what I mean, macro management is the opposite of micromanagement. In the context of a strategy game, micromanagement is small-scale stuff like maneuvering your units. Macro management, on the other hand, is the complete opposite, managing unit production, base expansion, and planning your next move. Those terms might not translate perfectly to Battlerite, but micromanagement would be stuff like dodging, aiming, and pulling off damage combos. Macro, on the other hand, would be stuff like watching enemy cooldowns or keeping track of enemy and ally positions. You need to develop your aim, dodging, and ability usage to be second nature. If you can hit your shots and land damage combos without much thought, that frees up some brain space for more useful stuff. Don't get me wrong, aim is important, but aim alone will only take you so far if you're looking to climb the ranks. If you can aim and combo abilities without needing to think about it, you can start spending most of your time thinking about where the enemy is, where your allies are, and most importantly, who has escapes and who doesn't. Target focus in Battlerite is entirely based on cooldowns. If an enemy has no escapes and they're in a position where you can deal damage to them, they are the focus target. You need to develop the ability to spot these things. And if you're bogged down in trying to pull off perfect combos and hitting your mouse ones on Lucy, you will miss the Alicia spacing into your team. It doesn't matter that the Lucy is a good target sometimes. The second an enemy blows a cooldown, it doesn't matter who they are, if they're in a bad position, you need to focus them. Even if your mechanics are kinda mediocre, if you can successfully identify when an enemy blows cooldowns and then you focus them, you will climb. I guarantee it. Next up, learn one champion inside out. The reason you want to do this is because of my previous point. If the enemy Jade snipes you, you shouldn't need to think about what your response is. It should be second nature. Different champions have different responses as well. If your champion has a counter or reflect, that would be your best option before you use your space. If you don't have a counter, then maybe a self-shield would suffice. For some champions, a bubble or wall would be your best response. Every champion has a different response to a Jade snipe. Now, what do you do if Rook charges you? For some champions, it might be the same response. If you have a counter, that might be your best option again. In the case of a charge though, a bubble or a shield might not work. Dodging out of the way in this case is your best bet if you don't have a counter. My point is, every champion has a unique set of responses to every other champion. So if you're not familiar enough with your champion, either you'll hesitate and get hit by stuff, or you'll be so focused on what to press and when that you'll have no time to think about enemy cooldowns and positioning. If you're new, learning a champion inside out means that when you hear a snipe, you won't think twice. You know exactly what to do without paying that much attention to it. Likewise, if a croak goes for a stealth stun, you'll know what to do. And if you're dodging stuff without thinking about it, you'll have time to watch enemy cooldowns and punish them for it. Now, instead of getting charged by the Rook and getting demolished, he'll charge you, you'll dodge it, he counters because you're expecting it, so you avoid it, and now you know he has no way out, and then you'll proceed to demolish him. My next tip is learn a new champion. Wait, what? Yes, I know, that's the opposite of what I just said. Your first priority should be to learn a champion inside out, but everyone learns at a different rate. If you've got one champion down, one of the best ways to continue improving is to learn a different champion. Learning what their strengths and weaknesses are will help you on your main champion. For example, if you're used to playing Xander, you'll be used to having endless escapes. Your positioning doesn't matter that much because you'll usually have a way out. Now try playing Lucy. If you position badly, you're going to get destroyed. So you'll quickly learn that you need to position better. After playing Lucy for a bit, your positioning will improve and you'll get better at Lucy. And then guess what happens when you come back to Xander? Your positioning will be better with him too. You'll still have all of Xander's outs, but with better positioning, you can use them when an enemy forces you to, rather than using them as a crutch for bad positioning. Every champion has different strengths and weaknesses, and I guarantee that if you only play one champion, you'll be using their strengths as a crutch. By learning a champion with different strengths, you'll naturally become better on your main champion as well. You'll start to see your main champion's strengths for what they are, an advantage to leverage, rather than a backstop for when you mess up. Finally, try to play assertively. This will vary from player to player. If you play too aggressively, focusing on the macro will make you think twice before diving too deep. If you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, you might wait for an enemy to make a mistake before you really do anything. I have a tendency to be one of those people sometimes. The problem is, when you play like this, you're relying on your teammates to make an opportunity for you. If the enemy plays aggressively and you never force them to make a mistake, you'll just never fight back. Sometimes you have to be the initiator. It is champion dependent, of course. If you start thinking you're James Bond on Lucy and start rolling into a fight and firing shots, you're gonna get destroyed. So don't do that. Some champions physically can't make openings. Lucy is more of a champion who prevents the enemies from initiating by fearing, petrifying, and dispelling their buffs. Most champions, though, have a way to pressure the enemy. Alder can use his mouse 1 and E combo, and Alicia has a similar combo. If you aim those well, either you'll hit the enemy and deal some hefty damage, or they'll be forced to dodge it. And if they dodge it, then there's a mistake that you can punish. Now you can focus that person because they've just blown a cooldown. Sometimes it can work to let the enemies jump in and then punish them for it. But sometimes you have to be the one to make the first move. Most people are either too aggressive or too passive. The best way to figure out which one of these you are is to watch your games back. Do you find yourself jumping into the enemy backline and being the first on your team to die? If that's the case, you might be playing too aggressively. On the other hand, do you find yourself backing off into your own spawn a lot? In that case, you might be playing too passively. If you're the sort of person who plays passively, here's how you change that mindset. Stop being afraid of your opponent. No matter which champion you play, there will be something in your kit that your opponent is afraid of. So stop being afraid and start making your opponents fear you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please feel free to subscribe for more Battlerite guides, news, and discussion. If you'd like to help support the channel and get some unique rewards, then head over to patreon.com/battleritesage. And don't forget to check out twitch.tv/battleritesage. Until next time, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.